Hello everybody, John here from the sports department, and we're going over tonight's 5-game LPL LCK slate. We're going to take a look as we're going through this slate at some of the playoff positions as well, seeing what matters to who, and luckily the LPL and LCK do a pretty good job of making it so that almost all the matches matter to some degree or another. But it's still worth looking at where their setup is right now, what they need to do to move up in the rankings, down in the rankings, make the playoffs, etc. This slate's pretty good. It's not as good as last night. Last night was a super sweet slate, but this one's not bad. It starts off with OMG plus 250. They're 2-10 on the season, up against LNG, who's minus 350 and 6-6 on the season. So for LNG, they're right here in the mix. It's 10 teams to make the playoffs, which I actually had messed up last week. I thought we were still doing 8-team playoffs in the LPL, but they're down to 10. So LNG's looking pretty good. They're fending off Invictus and BLG, which are really the two teams that are going to be fighting for this 10 spot with them, the 9 and 10 spot. LGD down is pretty much eliminated, so it's really Victory 5 is the last team that has any sort of shot of finding their way in, but LNG's doing pretty well comparatively. They have one less match played and one more win. So they're looking pretty good as long as they can fend off either Invictus or BLG. One of those three teams pretty likely to miss the playoffs, I think. So LNG definitely wants to pick up a win here. OMG, on the other hand, they are part of the eliminated crowd down here at 2-10. No real motivation there for them. Statistically, LNG just a whitewash, 1778 to 1685, minus 38 in goal differential, but OMG's at minus 218. They do have worse Dragon and Herald percentages, which is something I was talking about in the last video that we want to watch out for a little bit. Teams that are worse at both of those things than their opponents. But I don't think it matters too much when you're looking at minus 1776 to minus 359. Clearly not getting the Dragon and Herald as often is not impacting their first 15 minutes too badly. So KPW DPL wise, OMG is a team that generally you want to be involved with. LNG has not really been on that list. 15.7 kill per win, and OMG's death per loss is the lower of their two stats as well. Probably not super exciting. We'll see when we get to the projections, but I'm guessing LNG's projections are not super exciting in this matchup. OMG is live. I mean, plus 250 is not bad. You're only going to want to mess with them in the biggest of fields, but they are probably live, and there's enough underdogs on this slate that people are going to gravitate towards too that OMG might be a good spot for you. They do have a 20 kill per win, and LNG has a 17 death per loss, so if OMG happens to win this series, they could definitely score. So that's kind of how I feel about this one. LNG feels fairly safe. OMG feels like a place you could go in the big fields to get some really low ownership given some of the other dogs on this slate. Next up we have Sunning, who's minus 135. They're 7-5 on the season, up against WE, who's plus 105, 9-3 on the season. So looking at Sunning is in this 8 spot, and they're in a real weird spot where they're almost guaranteed not to fall out of the playoffs. I mean, they still have 4 matches left. If they lose all 4 and go 7-9, some chance that these other teams pop up and knock them out. But there's a pretty good shot left. Let's see. Let's have a look. Who are they playing in their last 4 matchups? BLG, E-Star, LNG, and WE. So they have 3, one super obviously winnable one, and I think if they even win that one, they're probably pretty close to a lock at 8 wins. I mean, not actual lock, but pretty close. Sorry, cat trying to get up in here. They're pretty likely to make the playoffs if they even just beat E-Star. But they should win at least 2 of those 4 matches, so I don't think they're really in much danger, but they're definitely going to want to pick up a win here. WE, on the other hand, at 9-3, they're definitely making the playoffs. The only argument for them is whether they can sneak into this upper tier with FPX and Rare Atom at EDG. They're only 1 win away. It doesn't really seem like it, but they have the same record as Top Esports, and they're just 1 win away from sneaking into this tier with some of these other top teams. So they're definitely going to want to get a win here. This matchup reeks of EDG Top Esports to me, the same as last night, which is that Sunning is a minus 135 favorite, but WE is just statistically better. 1881 to 1847, plus 163 to plus 134. Better first turret for WE, but better first blood for Sunning. Better Dragons for WE, better Heralds for Sunning. But when you see Herald percentage, you want that to correlate to goal differential at 15 minutes, because if they're taking more Heralds, then you want them getting those plates and getting an advantage at 15 minutes, and WE has a better goal differential at 15 minutes. So it's not really seeming to put them over the top in the early game. Just bizarre that WE is the underdog. I think WE should definitely be the favorite. That said, Sunning has been a lot better in recent history than they were at the beginning of the season. They're definitely on an upward trend here, whereas I think most people would say WE has looked a little bit worse in recent series than they did at the beginning of the year. They are on a four-win streak, same as Sunning. So nothing super impactful. I think it's a very close matchup. Sunning could definitely win. WE can definitely win. But I find it pretty hard not to involve myself with WE on some level, given the statistics here. Looking at KPW DPL, though, Sunning is not a team you usually want to be involved with. Only a 15.4 DPL this season. WE, an 18.5 kill per win, but they do have a low death per loss as well. Seems like another matchup that's probably not going to be super large on the expectations, but we'll see. Next up, RNG, minus 250, 11-1 on the season, up against JDG, who's plus 185 and 8-4 on the season. So RNG, number one in the league. Honestly, they're going to be tough to pass. They're only 12 series in, so they could drop to as low as 11-5 if they lost every game, and then they would certainly be down here somewhere. But you got to think they're winning the most of the rest of their games, and they are 2 losses ahead of EDG, Rare Atom, Fun Plus, and they have 1 less match played than EDG and Rare Atom. So it looks like RNG likely to end up with the number 1 seed. They need to maintain 1 or 2, but it feels like they're pretty likely to do that, given what's been going on with them. They have among the best statistics in the league, along with Top Esports and EDG. JDG, on the other hand, sitting at 8-4. They're right here. 4 matches left on the season. The worst they can do is 8-8. Seems very likely that they'll win at least. I know they have a very easy schedule still remaining as well. They have 2 super easy matches to end the season. So very likely that they're ending up in the playoffs. I don't think they're probably too worried about that. As far as the numbers go, RNG 1909 to 1842, plus 203 to plus 50. They have advantages in First Blood, First Turret, an 8% Dragon Edge, a 1% Herald Edge, and they're better at 15 minutes. So, clear advantage to RNG. Like I said, statistically among one of the best teams in the league, and based on their record, they are. JDG definitely has paths to victory in this matchup. I think there is an advantage for me in the bot lane for JDG and in the top lane for JDG. So it's the mid jungle for RNG is a large advantage, mostly because of mid. I think Crying is really good, and I think Wei is one of the only junglers in the league that's better than Beishang. Not Beishang, Kanavi. I get those two mixed up because they came into the league at the same time, and they're both really, really good. I think Wei and Crying is one of the only duos in the league that's better than Kanavi and Yagao. But there is some advantages for JDG. I'll definitely find myself on some JDG and GPPs. I think they're going to be a less played underdog than somebody like WE. I think WE just has to be higher owned. So I think there's going to be more WE running around, which has to lower JDG just a little bit. This is another good spot. Like last night, I played a lot of Rare Atom and Top Esports because it's double underdog. And most of the time when people see an underdog that they like, they go, ooh, how can I pair them with my favorite big favorite? So you can get an underdog who's highly owned, like Top Esports was last night, at a low ownership by pairing them with other underdogs. And I'll probably do that with some JDG and WE type stuff in tonight's slate. That said, RNG, a significant favorite. I'm not sure. I was trying to decide earlier if I think that RNG is cash playable. I'm not sure that I think RNG is cash playable. Minus 250 is a pretty big number, though. I mean, they clearly believe that they are. But JDG just feels like they have some really clear advantages that they could take care of in this match, even though RNG is the overall favorite for sure. It feels like there's some spots for JDG. This matchup feels like the must-play matchup of the slate, where you probably want RNG or JDG in most of your lineups. Very high KPW DPLs in this matchup compared to the other two from the LPL that we looked at so far. Moving over to the LCK, and let's switch to this. First we have Hanwha Life, minus 325. They're 9-5 on the season, going up against Live Sandbox, plus 230, 4-10 on the season. So what are we looking at here? Hanwha Life clinched playoffs already. They're 9-5. Worst case scenario, they end up somewhere in the low playoff bracket here. But I don't think they're too worried about anything. They're not going to. They're likely not going to end up in the top 2, but they can fight for it. Especially with Genji losing to T1 last night, they're alive for it. So they'll definitely be shooting to get some wins. Live Sandbox 4-10. I'm guessing from the look of this that they probably need to like win out. They only have 2 matches left, right? No, they have 4 matches left. They probably need to win out and go 8-10 to have any sort of shot, because they need to displace. I don't think anyone's displacing T1. It's really about somebody trying to take out KT. I thought it was honestly going to be Afrika, but Afrika has just completely melted down at the end of the season. So we could see Nongshim pick up that spot. We could see KT hold it. KT is on a 4-loss streak though. Or we could see a team like Sandbox or Fred Brion jump up there and steal that last spot. Sandbox definitely getting it together later in the season. That said, there's really no advantages for Sandbox in this matchup. They do have a better Herald percentage, but it hasn't translated into gold lead at 15 minutes. Individually, Sandbox's bot lane is pretty good, but it's pretty tough to say that they're better than Deft, you know. I just don't see a ton of advantages. Summit maybe over Morgan. Summit has had a pretty good season, I think. But when you combine it with the jungle, I'm not sure that I really think that they have an advantage there. I guess Sandbox's jungle is pretty good. Maybe they go mid-top and try to get Summit ahead. That's probably the only thing I can see that's really like an advantage for Sandbox. But obviously HLE a favorite to win. I do think HLE is pretty volatile. I think Sandbox makes a good underdog as well. A lot of live underdogs on the slate for sure. And the last matchup in the LCK, Damwon Gaming, minus 1,000, 13-1 on the season up against Nongshim Red Force, plus 550. They're 5-9 on the season. Nongshim, we just talked about, they're fighting with KT for that last playoff spot. They're definitely going to want to try to get a win here, but it's going to be pretty tough up against those boys from Damwon Kia. Damwon is one of the only teams, though, that just really doesn't have much to play for. There's almost no way that they get supplanted here. They only need to be top 2 to gain that advantage. And there's almost no chance that they're missing that. I mean, they'll want to win anyway, but really unlikely that they fall all the way down to 3rd. Excuse me. They would pretty much have to win out to fall down to 3rd, and it seems, or lose out, and it seems pretty unlikely that that would happen. So Damwon feels like extremely safe and not bad when it comes to the KPW DPL, especially with Nongshim's 18.1 DPL. Could definitely get some value out of Damwon Kia here, which is I usually avoid this type of stuff. Damwon's smash matches, but lately they've been a lot bloodier. Nongshim has been willing to give up points and losses. I could definitely see Damwon being playable here. If I was going to do a full fade, I'm not even sure which match I would go with. Maybe LNG OMG if I was going to do a full fade, because LMG seems extremely likely to win, and they have pretty low KPW DPL setups. We'll have to look at the projections, but I think this is a weird one where I think if I was full fading, it might be one of the LPL matches, because there's some value in HLE, Sandbox, Damwon, Nongshim. There's some value there, so let's have a look at the projections here. Specifically, let's have a look at the favorites. HLE, Damwon, RNG. I'm going to leave Sunning and WE in there together, since I think it's kind of hard to call anyone a big favorite out of that match. Let me get rid of some people that aren't playing or are likely to not be playing. And let's go have a look. So RNG showing up at the top, followed by WE. At the bottom, it's LNG and HLE down there as well. In the jungle, HLE's at the top, actually, with RNG in second, WE in third, LNG sitting at the bottom. In the mid lane, HLE, RNG, WE, I think that's going to be consistent. HLE is going to be lower in some other spots, but RNG, WE seems pretty consistent. LNG shoots up a little bit with Icon. At 80 carry, RNG again at the top. Jumang actually pretty low, a little surprising there. And at support, RNG, HLE, LNG jumps up at support as well, with WE dropping down. So WE's bot lane, not highly projected in this matchup, but their mid, jungle, and top very highly projected. And RNG is just high on everything. It definitely thinks if RNG wins, they're going to be very high scoring. Makes them a little bit hard to avoid at minus 250. I may just have to play them tonight, as much as I kind of don't want to, because I think JDG, this is a prime spot for JDG to come out and pick up a win here, but I may just end up having to play RNG because they just project the best, and they are minus 250 favorites, which is pretty reasonable. Looking at potential cash game options here, it's pretty tough. I think I wouldn't fault you for going with WE and any of the other favorites, something like WE Damwon. Let's have a look real quick. WE Damwon gets you an 80 carry captain at 604.1. If you wanted to play like the riskiest lineup that I think is viable, WE RNG has a 620. Of course, with this one, I would probably move this around a little bit. What would happen if I switched to Zhumeng Captain? Could I get an upgrade like in the mid lane or in the jungle or at support? No. So I would actually probably drop this down. Can I get like a Cryan Captain for 2? Leaves 500 on the table. Just not enough to make any of those upgrades. So you might have to go with Wei. I assume that has to fit. Yeah. I might go with this, which is a 607. But if you're going to trust RNG, I think you should assume that they're going to absolutely smash if you trust them. Because their points, they have such high expectations if they win this matchup. So if you wanted to try WE, I think those are the two teams I'd be willing to pair WE with. You could go with something, try to go with something even safer, like you could go like LNG WE. That gets you a light captain. I assume I could make that upgrade if I wanted, yeah. You could upgrade the jungle to Tarzan if you wanted. Let's see, WLNG gives you 596.3. That one's probably a bit safer than WERNG, but it drops your ceiling just a little bit. If you didn't want to risk WE, which I think is reasonable because Sunning is right near even money on that matchup as far as I'm concerned. So if you wanted to play a little safer, you could try like LNG RNG. Let's see, if I switched over to LNG team, unfortunately the LNG players are cheaper, but the team slot is more expensive, which makes this hard to move around. What if I took Tarzan Captain? You can get the 4-2 with Tarzan Captain. That's 586.6, and this feels a lot safer than the WE lineup, so you're losing a little ceiling there. What if you did, say, LNG and Damwon? Really? That can't be right. Does it say you cannot make an LNG Damwon lineup? Is it literally just their team slots are so expensive that it stops you? No chance. Oh, okay. A lot of money left on the table there. Can you not play like, say, a Tarzan Captain? No Tarzan Captain, huh? Mikuya Captain? That just doesn't feel playable. Like, this is super safe. So for LNG Damwon, they have there's a Mikuya Captain at 566. But that just feels too low ceiling and too safe to me. What if you did Dam 1 RNG? That one's probably going to be support captain, but it might be so safe. Get a support captain at 590. That's not bad. 4 RNG and then Showmaker and Barrel. That's not bad. Dam 1 Gaming could definitely score. I think that's your safe option if you want to go safe. I wouldn't mess with that LNG Dam 1 lineup. If you want to go really safe, I think Dam 1 RNG makes a lot of sense. I think I'd rather play that than the LNG RNG. Dam 1 RNG makes sense if you're going to go that way. Just really quickly, let's just see if HLE... Does HLE do anything for you? 596 in that combo. 586. 592. So you can get a 604. Can I change to any other? I could go to Cryan and get 4 RNG. So you can play a support captain of RNG with HLE too, if you believe in HLE. And that actually comes out to 600.6. So that's another good safe option for you as well. That might be better than the Dam 1 one, although it's not as safe for sure. HLE could lose to Sandbox. So your safest, I guess you're kind of working in like 3 tiers. 4 tiers maybe. You have like the absolute safest option in Dam 1 Gaming and RNG. I guess that's not even really the safest, because RNG is not exactly super safe. Your safest option is really probably something like, what's like HLE Dam 1 give you? 586, that's pretty safe. Or Dam 1 LNG. I mean, we erased that one already, but if you're looking for maximum safety, the Dam 1 LNG is probably somewhere in there. Your highest ceiling is WERNG, for sure. A lot of different various heads-up lineups you can go with tonight. I'm trying to figure out what I think the best mix of like safety and risk is. WERNG feels like it's, if those two teams win, you'll just win all your cash games, but it might be tough to call those two winners. I think you maybe want to go a little bit safer than that. Only take one of those risks and maybe go with like an RNG HLE or RNG Dam 1. Feels like if you're going to take that risk on RNG, I don't know that I want to take the risk on WE. Or you could go with something like WE Dam 1 and get that 604 upside and not have the worry of RNG in there. That feels alright too. Very tough slate. Very tough slate for cash. I just realized I didn't do ownerships. So let me knock this down real quick. For ownerships, probably Nongshim Red Force will be the lowest. And I think OMG is going to be extremely low as well. So I would start off with those two on the bottom. Sandbox probably down there. I would guess Sandbox is next. I think there will be plenty of ownership on Dam 1. RNG and JDG are both going to be high. Sunning and WE are both going to be high. You could see LNG, honestly, down here somewhere. Probably like HLE and maybe LNG. I don't know if people are going to lean. People might lean LNG because they're such a decent sized favorite there. Maybe you go with one of the underdogs next on this one. I think JDG gets less ownership than WE, so maybe you go JDG and then like LNG, Dam 1, WE up here somewhere. WE probably higher than Sunning, I would guess. And then RNG at the top. Maybe Dam 1 here feels better to me. Dam 1 there, maybe. People definitely like playing Dam 1 Gaming, and this is a pretty easy matchup for them. Maybe something like this. Might even be... RNG might be lower just because their opponent is going to be somewhat owned. This is a very tough ownership. I think these are your lowest 4. pretty much for sure. HLE might be a little bit higher, actually. These are definitely your lowest three. HLE. Are people going to believe in JDG or no? Probably not. Sunning and WE just both have to be really high. And LNG is such an easy matchup. Yeah, this feels reasonable. RNG has such huge ceiling, and I think people are mostly not going to believe in JDG, so this makes the most sense to me off the top of my head. For GPPs, there is some other stuff you can like to mess around with. Looking at like team slots, a kind of popular lineup that I'm going to be looking at, like a style of popular lineup that I'm going to be looking at, Dam 1 with the highest team slot. I'd pop over here and just like play double underdogs like WE JDG with Dam 1 team slot, something like that. And to do that, just take the Dam 1 players out. Just knock the Dam 1 players out and leave the Dam 1 team slot in there, and then you can generate lineups in over here that will only use Dam 1 team slot but can't use Dam 1 players, and you can get mixtures of the underdogs that way. That seems like something that's going to be popular for me. And then maybe some combinations of like RNG, WE. I might take a stand and just not play Sunning, which could really end up biting me, but that's something I definitely might do. WE, I hate when a team that's just statistically better in all the categories I'm seeing is an underdog, even if I can see why with Sunning's recent performance and WE's recent performance. But just an interesting slate. This is a good one. There's a lot of different angles you could attack. I think basically every team on this slate is playable. Maybe not Nongshim, maybe not OMG. Everybody else feels like super live mixed in here. So I could definitely see tons of different combinations winning this thing. I think I'd probably go 100% on RNG, JDG, and GPPs, and then decide what else I want to do for cash. Interesting slate. I will talk to you guys tonight. I will keep everybody updated. I'm 3-2 at the moment in the Max Steinberg challenge. We'll see what happens in the 2 games today. But I will keep everybody updated on that as well. And good luck to everybody on this slate, man. Let's get them. I got to go watch some LEC. So that's it for me. And good luck to everybody tonight. Have a good one.